Okay, what I'd like to do today is show you how you can use the conditional formatting capability of Excel to improve the way you track your projects. So to do this, I've just prepared a very brief spreadsheet which has got a list of sample tasks down the side here. Of course, if you're doing a basic project plan, you would go ahead and put the details of those individual steps down the left-hand side. And in this case, I've just highlighted here. There's lots of different ways that you can use Excel as a project planning tool, but in this example, I've just used straight highlighting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain the formula to you as we go, and I'm going to do this in a number of steps, but I'm doing it this way just to make it easier to understand. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the area that I want to have formatted in a special way. In this case, it's these date periods. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this date to be a couple of dates in the past, because that will help with the illustration. Actually, just put the starting date in column in cell B2, and then I've added 7 to it, and then just copied that across. It's an easy way that you can change the date at any time, and the rest of the sheet updates. So let's leave it at 7th of November. Okay, so the first step I'm going to do is I want to know which week is the 7th of November. So in this cell B1, I'm going to put in a formula equals week number, open bracket, and I'm going to point to the date below. So 7th of November is week 46, and I'll copy that all the way across. Secondly, in this cell here, I want to know what is the week number of today. I know 7th of November is week 46, but what week are we currently in? And so in here, I'm just going to put equals today. So that's the day today, and then if I want to know the week number, I can just put the formula week number around today's date, and I get we're currently in week 48. So what would be really neat would be if I could highlight this column as being the current active week. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do using conditional formatting. So we'll highlight the section that we want to be conditionally formatted. We'll go Home, Conditional Formatting, New Rule, and I'm going to use this bottom one here, Use a Formula. So what we need to do is we need to first of all, I'll do this in reverse order. First of all, I'm going to tell Excel how do I want to format these cells. So I'm going to go Format Border. I'm going to select a nice red color here, and I'm going to click on the left and the right hand side of the cell. So basically I'm saying I want to highlight any cell on the left and the right hand side that meets the following formula. And so now I need to create a formula in here that when the formula is true, the cell will get the formatting, and when the formula is false, the cell will not get the formatting. Now you can see that even though I've selected this entire area, it's this top left-hand cell B2 that I'm actually entering the formula here for. So it's very important that you do everything relative to this top left-hand corner. And so the formula to evaluate to true says, I'll go equals B1. So if cell B1 is equal to cell A1, and it's true, then I want to highlight the cell, and if it's not true, I want to leave it blank. Now, what will happen if I hit enter now is that this formula will copy across using relative referencing, and that's not what I want. I always want to refer to this first one here as being row 1, so I'm going to put a $sign in front of that, and I always want to refer to cell A1 regardless of where it is. So I'm going to put some absolute references in there and click OK. And what you see is that it's gone through and it's evaluated this column. It said that it's false, and therefore it's left it blank. But in this column here, it's gone ahead and highlighted both sides. So instead of putting this formula in here, if I say, obviously in a few days' time, the week number will change to 49, and you can see that this changes. So if the week number was week 3, it changes. And it just means that you can open this spreadsheet at any time and immediately see where you're up to, what point in time you're at. So that's quite a useful tool. Now, what we don't necessarily want to do is have all of these formulas up here. I did this quite deliberately to show you how how the formula works, but now we'll go one step further and we'll edit this formula so that we don't need this extra row along the top. So I'm going to highlight it together. Again, conditional formatting, I'm going to manage rules. Here's the rule that I've got, and I'm just going to edit it. And you can see exactly what I put in there before. But this time, instead of B1, which was this cell here, I'm going to replace that with the formula. So what I did in B1 was I put a formula that said the week number of B2. So I'm just going to replace that and say equals week number B2. And the 2 has to be absolute. So that's a replacement for cell B1, and a replacement for cell A1 was week number today. And I click OK. And now I can get rid of this column at the top, and you can see that it still works. And as the days change, this layout and conditional formatting will change. One thing just to point out that in actual fact, it won't work between the 26th of December and the 2nd of January because the week numbers actually change between the end of the year. So technically it won't work on those 2 weeks, but look, for the sake of the exercise, I think it's fine. If you want to go into a more complex formula to correctly handle the end of year, you can go ahead and do that, but the principle is still the same. Okay, I hope you found that useful.